Just to those online, we're just waiting on quorum.
Councillor Carr, I saw you. Are you still good for hearing us?
Perfect.
Yeah,
Everything.
perfect it is.
Yeah,
Thank you.
my computer, PAL upgraded my computer today.
Oh,
Yay!
okay, so we're all good. Perfect,
Yeah.
thanks.
Okay. I will now call the public hearing of April 27th, 2023 to order. This meeting is convened by electronic means. As such, council members may participate in person or electronically. Members of the public can view the proceedings via the live stream and YouTube link, which will be tweeted out by @VanCityClerk. We acknowledge that we are on the unceded homelands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people. We thank them for having cared for this land and look forward to working with them in partnership as we continue to build this great city together. In case of an emergency where we need to evacuate the building, I would like to direct your attention to the exits. There are 2 exits beyond the glass doors and to the left. If these exits are obstructed, please direct your attention to the 4 exits in this chamber. Please use the stairs, do not use the elevator. I would also like to highlight that there is a defibrillator located at the end of the hallway outside of the council chamber. I also want to take a moment to recognize the immense contributions of our City of Vancouver staff who work incredibly hard every day to help make our city an amazing place to live, work, and play. Clerk, may we have the roll call, please?
Yes. Mayor Sim has a leave of absence for civic business. Councillor Carr.
Present?
Councillor Kirby-Young. Councillor Dominato. Councillor Blythe, the chair, acting mayor. And Councillor Boyle.
Present.
We can see you and maybe speak directly into your microphone. Councillor Fry has a leave of absence for personal reasons. Councillor Montague, leave of absence for personal reasons. And Councillor Klassen, leave of absence for personal reasons. Councillor Meisner.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Jo.
Present.
And the hearing has quorum. Chair Bly.
Thank you very much. Before we begin, I have some announcements. The public may participate by speaking in person, by phone, or by submitting written comments to Mayor and Council. Speakers will have 5 minutes to make their comments and should limit their comments to the merits of the report being considered. Speakers should also state whether they are in support or opposed to the recommendations. And if they are a resident of Vancouver, speakers may only speak once and should follow along on Twitter at @VanCityClerk for updates on the progress of the meeting so they don't miss their turn to speak. Any comments on agenda items can be submitted in writing through our online Mayor and Council feedback web form. This link will also be tweeted. Those speaking on behalf of 4 or more persons or groups, including the speaker, will have 8 minutes to speak, and only if those represented are also on the line or in person and must not be individual speakers themselves. I also want to note the City of Vancouver's longstanding commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion, including utmost respect for all genders. I remind Council that when addressing speakers and staff, we will avoid using gendered honorifics and will instead refer to the person by first and last name, role, or title. A reminder that Council's role at a public hearing is to be a quasi-judicial body, which means Council is to only consider the merits of the rezoning application or heritage designation. Council members may ask clarifying questions from speakers, including the applicant, or technical advice from staff, but should save debate for after the close of the speakers list. After hearing from speakers, Council may 1. Approve the application in principle, 2. Refuse the application, or 3. Refer the application to staff for further consideration. Our first item on the agenda is CD1 rezoning, 1045 Burnaby Street. Does any member wish to declare a conflict of interest on item 1? The clerk will now read the application and summary of correspondence received.
This is an application by Corp Properties Ltd. To rezone 1045 Burnaby Street from RM5A Residential District to CD1 Comprehensive Development District to permit the development of a 16-story residential building with 20% of the residential floor area secured with below-market rents. There are 170 secured rental housing units proposed, of which 133 are market rental and 37 are below-market rental. A height of 49 meters, 160.8 feet, and a floor space ratio FSR of 619 are also proposed. The following correspondence has been received since referral to public hearing, 2 pieces of correspondence in support. This represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Thank you. This will be the first call for speakers. Any speakers for this item who wish to speak to Council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be tweeted out and made available on the live stream. There will be an opportunity for new speakers and missed speakers to be added to the end of the registered speakers list. We have staff from Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability here to present the application. Since there are no registered speakers, I suggest that we waive the presentation. Can I
So
get a
moved.
mover? Thank you, Council Carr. Thank you, Council Dominato. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. So is the applicant team here to speak to the application?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Adrian Rabar. I'm a Vice President at Corp. We embarked on our journey with this project 2 years ago to redevelop 36 strata units into 170 secured rental units in the West End. And I just wanted to make a couple of comments. Firstly, just wanted to thank staff. I don't think Teen is here, but Lex and also Kevin for working through a very complex policy framework to help make this project a reality. Just wanted to wrap up by saying this is the first of a few projects of ours coming to council this year that we're really excited about, all secured rental projects. And just wanted to thank you for your consideration tonight. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from council to the staff or the applicant? I see your hand, Councilor Dominato. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for being here tonight. Just a couple quick questions. Just can you remind me with this project, looking at it, this is falling under the MERP program? Is it, or is it a similar? I know it's secured rental, but
It's not, but I'll let maybe Lex speak to the policy.
Hi, thanks for the question. It is not under the MERP policy. It is under the West End secured rental policy, which includes the 20% below market rental units, but not technically MERP.
okay, thank you. And just for the applicant, could you just speak to your efforts to sort of deliver that? There's the below market rental component of this project, and how you achieve that. Just because it's been coming up and surfacing on a regular basis, the challenge with that, and you've obviously done it successfully here.
Absolutely, and thanks for the question. It was very complicated for this site in particular due to the constraints dealing with shadowing of the sidewalk of Davy Street, that segment of Davy Street, and a couple of view cones that limit our height to 16 stories. We are also seeking a partial DCL waiver. So it has been a very complicated journey to try to get enough density on the site, enough units in the project to actually make this a feasible project. And the battle is not won by any means, but again, staff did work with us on a number of ideas we had to try to maximize that density, which was greatly beneficial to the project.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Great, thank you very much. There are questions, and of course, council, this is your opportunity to ask questions of both staff and the applicant, but the only opportunity to ask questions of the applicant. Councilor Carr.
Thanks, Chair. Actually, I think the applicant just answered my questions in answering Councillor Dominato's questions, because I was interested. Well, actually, maybe he can come to the stand again, and I'll frame it in a different way.
Yes, please go ahead with framing your question.
Yep. So I noticed that in your introduction that you talked about staff working with you through a, quote, complicated regulatory process. So is there anything beyond the shadowing and the constraints of the view cones that you can speak to in terms of the complicated regulatory process?
Absolutely, and thanks for the question. Firstly, the policy that staff just cited was a interim policy at the time, which had a sort of fuse on it. And so working with that time constraint was the first of the challenges. Secondly was the shadowing issue. I just mentioned no shadowing was to occur on the sidewalk of Davy Street at the spring and fall equinoxes between a predetermined time frame. There was a floor plate size restriction and a tower form guideline, which prevented or which specified that tower in the park or a simple point tower form rather than a tower on a podium was the preferred form for the site. There's the two view cones that also limit the height of the building. And there's also a tower separation requirement to potentially allow future tower redevelopments on either shoulder of the property. So between all of those, we worked with staff to tick all of those boxes, I think, accomplish the project that is frankly better than when we had first proposed it. So
It's good to hear. Thanks. I appreciate those details. That's it for questions, Chair.
Thank you very much. And those are all of the questions. So we'll now hear from the public. This is the second call for speakers. If there are any speakers to this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be tweeted out and made available on the live stream. Any speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium before the close of the speakers list. Speakers will have 5 minutes to make their comments and should limit their comments to the merits of the report being considered. Clerk, do we have any speakers on the line?
No.
Okay, so I will make my third and final call. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 106-1445# before the close of the speakers list. And that number has been tweeted out. We will take a 5-minute recess and be back at 6:24. Clerks, do we have any callers on the line?
No.
Thank you. So seeing there are no additional speakers online or in chambers, the speakers list is now closed. And seeing there are little or no comments received after 5 p.m., I'm now closing the receipt of public comments. Does the applicant have any closing comments? No. Okay, thank you. Does staff have any closing comments? Okay, thank you very much. Does council have any questions for staff?
No, but I'll move
Happy
the
to move the
recommendation.
recommendations, Chair.
Thank you very much. I first heard Councillor Carr and then seconded by Councillor Kirby-Young. And is there any debate? Seeing none, we can go to a vote, please.
Chair, I need a vote. It says in favor, please.
That's noted. Thank you very much. Councillor Zhou.
Could I also get a vote assist in favor, please, Chair? It's Peter Meisner.
Thank you, Councillor Meisner. And that motion passes with unanimous support from all those present. Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll just give everyone a second to change over staff and our applicant team. Okay, so we will get ready to begin here. So this item is item number 2, CD1 rezoning, 4065 Victoria Drive, Cedar Cottage Neighborhood House. Before we begin, does any member of council wish to declare a conflict of interest on item 2? The clerk will now read the application and summary of correspondence received.
This is an application by DA Architects and Planners to rezone 4065 Victoria Drive, Cedar Cottage Neighborhood House, from RS1A Residential District to CD1 Comprehensive Development District, to permit a 3-story replacement and expansion of the nonprofit-owned Cedar Cottage Neighborhood House and associated facilities. A height of 13.9 meters and a floor space ratio of 1.41 are proposed. The following correspondence has been received since referral to public hearing: 64 pieces of correspondence in support, 1 piece of correspondence in opposition, and 1 piece of correspondence dealing with other aspects of the application. This represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Thank you very much. This is the first call for speakers. Any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8617, followed by participant code 1061445# before the close of the speakers list. The number will be tweeted out and made available in the live stream. There will be an opportunity for new speakers and missed speakers to be added to the end of the registered speakers list. We don't have one, so that doesn't matter. We do have staff from planning, urban design, and sustainability here to present the application. And although we don't have any speakers, I would suggest that we see the application as this is one of our neighborhood houses. And so if everyone is agreeable, then we will have staff take the mic.
Sounds good. Just want to double check for those online. Can you see the PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, I can. It's Councillor Zhou.
Great, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Scott Erdman, and I am the planner for this rezoning application on Victoria Drive. The site is located in Kensington Cedar Cottage neighborhood on Victoria Drive between 23rd and 25th Avenues. The site is currently the home of nonprofit owned and operated Cedar Cottage Neighborhood House, which has been located here and offering various publicly available services and programming since 1964. The surrounding area is residential with a mix of houses and duplexes. The neighborhood is rich in amenities, with schools and parks within close proximity, including Brewers Park, which is just a half a block to the south. The site is well served by transit, with frequent bus service along Victoria Drive, and the Nanaimo SkyTrain station a few blocks to the east. This proposal is being considered under the Kensington Cedar Cottage Community Vision, which was adopted in 1998. The vision provides direction to guide future planning for the neighborhood, including transportation, community services, housing, and parks. It also supports consideration of rezoning projects that focus on expansion of publicly or nonprofit-owned institutional uses. The proposal before you tonight is for a 3-story replacement and expansion of Cedar Cottage Neighborhood House. The renewed facility would include a 37-space childcare facility, adult daycare, community kitchen, multi-purpose spaces for programming, in addition to administrative and support spaces. Ownership and operation would remain with the nonprofit. A maximum height of 46 feet and density of 1.41 FSR are proposed, and 1 level of underground parking. A virtual open house was held in July of 2022, with 20 responses received. Feedback included support for updating the facility and expanding its programming, for the height, massing, and density, and for the proposed design. Concerns included a comment about the timing and costs of the project due to the pandemic. The proposed benefits are the replacement of the neighborhood house and expansion of its community-oriented, publicly accessible services. As mentioned earlier, ownership of the facility would remain with the nonprofit operator, and a condition of enactment includes an agreement to secure long-term public use. This proposal meets the city's criteria to be exempted from paying a CAC, and also, because of the proposed uses, would only have to pay a nominal DCL charge. In conclusion, the proposal is consistent with the intents of the Kensington Cedar Cottage Community Vision. Staff recommend the application be approved, subject to conditions outlined in Appendix B. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Staff and the applicant team are available for any questions you may have.
That's great. Thank you very much. So we now have the applicant team to speak to the project.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Mark Eamon. I'm principal at DA Architects and Planners. Donna Chang, who's the Executive Director of Cedar Cottage, will like to say a few words, and after that, we'd be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Hi, Donna. Nice to see you.
Good to see everyone. Everyone's always taller than me.
We'll take that microphone down a little bit for you. There we go.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity to speak. And I want to thank the staff and everyone who have 64 letters in support of this wonderful organization. Cedar Cottage Neighborhood House is a Vancouver community asset. It has grown from the needs and interests of the local community. Many of you know Cedar Cottage Neighborhood House and the incredible work that has done over 73 years. We've been in existence since 1950. Thousands of people, generations of families have participated in our childcare programs, youth leadership, family drop-ins, adult day programs, home support, alternate school programs, police storefront, and special events. We have been there for the community in a response for people at the most vulnerable times to provide food, friendship, and a sense of hope in their lives. We have been many people's extended families. This building is going to allow us to continue to do this work at a much higher level for a much longer time. So we're really excited. And I'm going to tell you that the applicant team, I'm here with Mark Eamon, with Daniel Saxton, and Stephen Eastman, who have been incredible support to me and to the organization to move this forward. Thank you. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you very much. So are there any questions from council to staff or the applicant team? Noting that this is the only opportunity for council to ask questions of the applicant. Seeing none, we will I will make my second call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed 1061 before the close of the spit out and made available on the live stream. Are there any speakers in the council chamber? Please before the close of the speakers list. Speakers will have 5 minutes to make their comments and should limit their comments to the merits of the report being considered. Clerk, I wonder if we have any callers on the line.
No.
Okay, so we will, or I'll make my last call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll free 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445 # before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be tweeted out and made available on the live stream. Any speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium. We'll take a 5-minute recess and be back at 6:40.
to coming in and visiting as it's built and when it opens.
Thank you very much. Councilor Dominato.
Thank you, Chair. And echoing that thanks, it's really fantastic to see this come to fruition, and particularly because I know how difficult it is, particularly for nonprofit organizations to undertake these redevelopments, and it's a lot of work. You don't necessarily have all the expertise, but you offer an incredible community service that's greatly valued not only in the neighborhood but across the city with your other neighborhood houses, and so as part of a larger network of neighborhood houses. Also happy to see this come forward, and wishing you luck with it as it advances, and thanks for being here this evening.
Thank you very much. And seeing no other, no one else on the queue, we're going to go to a vote. And that motion passes with unanimous support of all those present. And that completes item number 2. Thank you very much. We'll just give everyone a moment to switch over. And next we have item number 3, rezoning 2126 West 34th Avenue and 5025 Arbutus Street, and 2109 to 2129 West 35th Avenue. Does any member of council wish to declare a conflict of interest? The clerk will now read the application and summary of correspondence received.
This is an application by Intracorp Homes to rezone 2126 West 34th Avenue, 5025 Arbutus Street, and 2105-2129 West 35th Avenue from RS5 Residential District to RR2B Residential Rental District to permit the development of a 5-story market rental building. A building height of 16.8 meters and a floor space ratio of 2.40 are proposed. The following correspondence has been received since referral to public hearing: 3 pieces of correspondence in support, 2 pieces of correspondence in opposition, and 1 piece of correspondence regarding other aspects related to the application. This represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Thank you very much. This is the first call for speakers. Any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be tweeted out and made available on the live stream. There will be an opportunity for new speakers and missed speakers to be added to the end of the registered speakers list. We have staff from Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability here to present the application.
Everyone can see the presentation?
Looks good. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, Chair and Council and members of the public. My name is Lex Duminiak, rezoning planner for this application. Before I start my presentation, I'll note that there is a rezoning memo as part of the application, which is included in the agenda package, which recommends the addition of a public art condition, which was inadvertently left out of the referral report. Council is requested to move the recommendation in the memo as part of their decision this evening. The enabling policy for the rezoning application before you tonight is the Secured Rental Policy, or the SRP. The SRP encourages new purpose-built rental housing in Vancouver and aligns with rental housing goals of the Housing Vancouver strategy and the complete neighborhood goals of the Vancouver Plan. Updates to the SRP were approved by Council in 2021 to create residential rental zones, also known as RR zones or district schedules. Additionally, Council approved a map which stipulates eligible areas for standardized RR zones. Rezonings to standard rental districts have a simplified rezoning process. Instead of creating customized site-specific CD1 zones, the RR district schedules establish clarity of permitted use, height, and density. The RR zones provide more certainty about what building forms may be permitted in low-density areas. The schedules are accompanied by comprehensive design guidelines, which were also approved by Council. In the simplified process, architectural drawings are not required at rezoning. The specific building design would be reviewed through a future development permit process, at which time the neighborhood would again be notified to provide their input. This map from the secured rental policy shows sites that are zoned RS or RT, which are outside of community plan areas and are thus eligible for RR rezonings. The locations are based on close proximity to public transit and local shopping areas, as well as on the first full block of either side of an eligible arterial road. The purple star on this slide indicates the site of this application, located on Arbutus Street between 34th and 35th Avenues. Shown in blue are the blocks around the site that are eligible for rezoning to an RR district. The eligible RR zone options for this site include RR 2A, 2B, and 2C, as well as RR 3A and 3B. I'll note that both 6-story options would require that 20% of the residential floor area be made up of below-market units. Additionally, the RR 3A and RR 3B district schedules require mixed-use developments with a commercial component. For the rezoning before you tonight, the applicants are proposing a RR 2B district schedule. Outlined in red, the site is zoned RS5 and comprised of 3 detached homes. At present, there are 2 tenants eligible for renter protection. The site is surrounded by similar RS5 zoned residential properties, and Ravine Park is immediately to the west. Consistent with the intent of the SRP, the site, again shown in red, is located near several parks and schools, as well as shopping areas and frequent transit along Arbutus Street and 41st Avenue. The site is also in close proximity to the Arbutus Greenway. The proposed RR2B district schedule allows for a 5-story, 100% residential rental building with a maximum FSR of 2.4. The Housing Vancouver strategy seeks to deliver a range of tenures and affordability across the housing continuum. Renting, shown in green on this table, has lower monthly costs than home ownership, which is shown in orange. The process for seeking public input on residential rental rezonings is the same as for CD1 rezonings. For this application, an open house was held last June and July, and 40 pieces of correspondence were received. Support was given for the increase in overall rental housing and the proposed building height. Concerns were expressed related to potential negative impacts to traffic safety, congestion, and parking, the fit of the proposed development within the existing low-density neighborhood, as well as possible environmental stresses to Ravine Park, the underlying water table, and surrounding mature trees. In response to concerns, staff note that the proposal will be required to comply with the parking bylaw, and rezoning conditions have been written to deliver improvements to address road safety. This includes intersection improvements along Arbutus Street, a 17-foot dedication to improve sight lines, as well as the provision of enhanced street lighting, widened sidewalks, and curb bulges. With respect to environmental concerns, this application will be required to follow the SRP design guidelines, which include measures for minimizing impacts on the surrounding environment. Conditions also require the installation of a bioswale along Arbutus Street to treat and retain rainfall. Landscape and parks conditions support tree protection while preventing additional shadowing on Ravine Park. At the development permit stage, the applicant is also required to consult with the Parks Board to ensure satisfactory tree protection. I will also note that the proposed height and density is consistent with the secured rental policy and the RR2B district schedule. The public benefits accruing from this application include the secured market rental housing units. There's also a DCL contribution of over $3.2 million. The applicant has chosen not to take the DCL waiver. A public art contribution of just over $200,000 is also anticipated. The CAC policy of rezonings exempts routine lower density secured market rental applications such as this one. In conclusion, the proposal meets the intent of city policy by delivering a secured rental building. Staff support this application to rezone to the RR2B district schedule with the form of development reviewed through the development permit process. Thank you. That concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. You do have questions. Councillor Kirby-Young.
Yeah, I actually have a question for the applicant.
Yes, to the applicant.
And the question is, I wonder if you can speak to, if you're doing other projects that were not in an RR zone, did this process make it easier, simpler, or save you time, or no? Because what was it actually?
I think that this is it's a new policy, so I think there's a bit of a learning curve for everybody. But I think overall it's quite good. It's the being prescriptive kind of eliminates some of the uncertainty involved with real estate development. So I think overall it's good.
Okay, so I'm hearing that maybe it's not firing on all cylinders yet because it's ramping up for a bit of a learning curve. So
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a learning curve.
okay,
Yeah, for sure.
what was some of the areas where it can get tightened up or it could be smoother?
I think the reality of it is that it's not one size fits all. It's nice to generalize and say that, thou shalt build this, but every site is unique, right? Like, for example, Arbutus is really sloped. And so when you look at the form of development, it can be challenging. But I think there's enough there that can help guide the design and the process. So, I think overall it's good. It's just the timing. I think the processing timeline can be improved, but I think that'll come with more of these applications going through.
Okay, and how long did it take you from the time your application was in to
A little over 12 months.
12 months?
But part of it, there wasn't a council election too, right? So that delayed it a bit. That's not the fault of staff.
I do recall.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. There are more questions. Councillor Carr.
Yes, thanks very much. Well, I have a question to the applicant first, which is regarding the interest, I think, of the public in the environment. I noticed that in Schedule B of this report, there are some conditions of approval, and they suggest rainwater harvesting, green roof, a number of other features. Are you interested in, or are you intending to pursue some of these suggestions in Schedule B?
Absolutely. The early schematic massing that we've done, we've kind of pulled the parkade box as far back from the property line as possible, and also trying to respect Ravine Park, maintain, preserve as many other trees as possible. And I think we can do that, but further analysis would be required. But we are intending to minimize the size of the excavation so that we can allow for space for the rainwater management.
Good. And you answered my second question, which was on tree retention. So thanks very much. Those are my questions. Actually, I do have a question for staff, if that's okay.
Yes, staff are coming up to the podium.
And there was a note about the impact on Ravine Park. Can you just please detail what you think are the potential risks to Ravine Park?
I think there are a number of factors in the design guidelines that are intended to minimize the risks. We did have a preliminary analysis with the Parks Board and our landscape team to review impacts, which included a preliminary shadow study, which showed no significant shadowing on Ravine Park, which is already a heavily treed park. The SRP design guidelines do include a number of measures which are intended to minimize impacts to the surrounding environment, including, as the applicant alluded to, requiring that the parkade be below the building footprint, meant to improve rainfall infiltration. There's also a 25-foot rear yard required.
Okay. And the bioswale, where was the bioswale to be located?
The bioswale would be along Arbutus Street for the full frontage of the site.
That's great. Okay, thank you. That's it for questions.
Great, thank you very much, Councillor Carr. So that does bring us to the end of these questions. We are going to do a second call for questions. If there are any, as for speakers, if there are any speakers for this item we wish to call the council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 106-1445 before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be tweeted out and made available in the live stream. Any speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium before the close of the speakers list. Speakers will have 5 minutes to make their comments and should limit their comments to the merits of the report being considered. Clerks, do we have any speakers on the line? Oh, we do have 5 registered speakers. Do we have speakers on the line at the moment?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll start with the top. Speaker number 1, Lucy Williams.
Hi there, yes. Can you hear me?
Thank you. We can hear you. You're welcome to start when you're ready. You have 5 minutes to speak to council.
Thank you so much. So, dear Mayor and Council, I'm speaking to you today to express my support for the rental housing proposal currently under consideration in the Arbutus Ridge neighbourhood of Vancouver. As a renter in this city, I'm all too familiar with the limited housing options and high cost of living here. I believe that this proposal represents a step in the right direction towards addressing these issues. The Arbutus Ridge neighbourhood is a highly desirable area with excellent access to transit, shops and services. However, as a renter, I have found that there are few housing options available in this area. I believe that the proposed rental housing development would help to address this issue by providing more rental units in this neighbourhood. Furthermore, I believe that this proposal aligns with the city's goals of increasing the supply of rental housing and promoting more affordable living options. As a resident of Vancouver, I am committed to seeing the city grow and thrive, and I believe that this proposal represents a positive step towards achieving this goal. Thank you for your attention to this matter, and I urge you to support this important proposal. Thank you.
And thank you very much. You did explain yourself clearly. There are no questions for you, but thank you for calling in.
Thank you very much.
Next speaker on the list is Speaker 2, Michael Fretz.
Hello?
Hi there, we can hear you. You're welcome to start. You have 5 minutes to speak to council.
Hello, my name is Michael Fretz. I'm a resident of Vancouver on the west side for 30 plus years. My family is opposed to the change of zoning in this area. We've heard a lot of the points. Land is too close to the ravine, which is home to sensitive indigenous vegetation and wildlife, including a resident owl that we see quite frequently. City of Vancouver presently has permanent environmental impact habitat area signage up when you enter the ravine park. Building a 5-story building will increase the likelihood of that sensitive area to be upset. Fragile ecosystem destroyed. All the people that will be living in that building, you're going to have hundreds of people, dogs digging, excrement, trampling all through that ravine park. With regards to our second point reason, Arbutus Street, especially between 33rd and 36th, is a steep S-curve stretch of road. Vehicles speed up and down that road constantly, causing dangerous conditions for pedestrians and drivers. I know they talked about improving that, but there have been a number of vehicle crashes already at 35th and Arbutus. If you look in the files, you'll probably see them smashing into houses, etc. So that's another concern of ours. If you put in too many controls in it, it slows the traffic so much, and it's such a major thoroughfare too. So putting too much control in there could be a problem too. So that's another area. And lastly, we have in the last 12 years we have been asked to leave 3 times our family from homes, having to uproot in perfectly good houses on the west side to be torn down. In past times, houses were, 3 or 4 times a family salary. You could buy one. In Vancouver, they're more than 10 times. So we're renting, and it's difficult to even find one that's reasonably priced to rent. And I'm talking about houses, not apartments. The house that we're in, the house we are in, is on one of the properties that is being considered for rezoning. It's 100 years old. It's a beautiful house. It's been fully renovated in 2007. It's spacious. It's upkept. A lovely place for our children and to play and grow and experience, especially with Ravine Park there. So I guess my final questions are, why does the City of Vancouver allow perfectly good houses to be torn down? Why would the City of Vancouver make decisions that displace and upset families with few to no other similar options? Would it not make sense to at least make a law that a house has to be in poor or unsafe conditions or that the present tenant willingly moves out before it's being considered to be torn down. Would this not be a better option for the environment as well? And how does increasing the density and negative environmental impact of rezoning fall in line with the sensitivity habitat area in the Ravine Park and the reforestation project right now? Right now you can't go off the path in that park. If you put a building there with hundreds of people, they're going to be in that park, garbage, animals, and again, endangered species like the owl that is around here. Will that stay around if you're building big apartment buildings in there? So those are my main points. Thank you very much for listening, Council. And Mayor, I know you're not there tonight, but hopefully when you read the notes, I appreciate the time to speak our concerns.
Thank you very much, Michael. You did explain yourself clearly. There are no questions, but thank you very much for weighing into this application.
Okay, thanks. You're welcome.
We are going to move to speaker number 3, Spencer Goodman.
Hello.
Hi there, we can hear you. You have 5 minutes to speak to council. You're welcome to start whenever you're ready.
Awesome. Thank you. Dear Mayor and Council members, I am here speaking today to express my support for this rental housing proposal currently under consideration. As a longtime resident of Vancouver, I understand firsthand the many challenges that young professionals like myself face in finding affordable and suitable rental housing. I've experienced this challenge personally and firsthand, having lived in a 3-bedroom rental unit with 2 roommates in downtown Vancouver for over 7 years before finally settling in a 1-bedroom apartment in Mount Pleasant. The lack of affordable studio and 1-bedroom rental options was a major obstacle for me throughout my search, and I know that many others in Vancouver are facing similar challenges. The proposal to increase the supply of purpose-built rental housing in Vancouver is a crucial step in addressing the issue of housing affordability in the city. The secured rental housing program is a positive step towards increasing the availability of this rental housing and dispersing it throughout the city. I'm pleased to see that this policy is now rolling it out as anticipated. I urge the Council to approve this rezoning proposal. The need for affordable rental housing in Vancouver is urgent, and this proposal represents a significant opportunity to address this issue. Increasing the supply of rental housing will not only benefit current residents, but will also attract new residents and support the city's economic growth. Thank you all for your time and for consideration.
Thank you very much for your time. There are no questions, but thank you very much for clearly stating your position. Finally, we have speaker 4 as a registered speaker, Kelly Sanderson.
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you. You're welcome to start.
Oh, hi there. Yes, thank you. I think I'm just going to go and reference something I heard earlier with the developers speech, and that is my biggest concern here. I think that we should all look at, which is quite a red flag, which is the learning curve. We've heard from a previous neighbor of mine. I actually live right across the street from this proposed development, and I'm concerned for the same things that I think council should be, which is that this may potentially show that this is a mistake on the part of the city. This is a dangerous risk that I think is out there that we don't need to take for the many reasons that have been brought up before. First of all, it's the location. This part of Arbutus is on a steep slope. It's a blind street. There have been numerous accidents. There have been fatal accidents. It is an area between 33rd and 37th that does not need increased density. We have Carousel, which from 37th South has got plenty of high-rise development. There are several old buildings that are 3-story buildings that are 70, 80 years old that could easily be developed into high-rise locations. Carousel offers all of the amenities that you don't have here on Arbutus. This is a residential neighborhood. This is a place where families live. This is a place where people walk their dogs. This is a place where kids go and walk in the park. This is a place where we don't need increased traffic. We don't need increased density. And there is really not, I don't see any benefit to the neighborhood or the city for developing our section of Arbutus into a 5-story high-rise with potentially commercial. But I just plead with the council to really look at the stretch for the logistics, not only for the ecosystem, and like he was trying to explain with the parkade, I mean, the logistics, when you start to look at the access and the curve, the blind side of the street, how are people going to access the parkade? How are the people, also the residents on Arbutus and Quilchena, where are we going to park? These homes are almost 100 years old. They were built with small hillside garages. There is no garage parking. We park on our street. And my sense is that that will be taken away. So where will I park? And now I'm sending to park with 200 other people across the street and all my neighbors that park around the corner from us. Right now there's a harmony. You know, we are such a neighborhood that we allow people to park in front of their homes. And, you know, if I get home first, I leave that spot for my neighbor because I know they have nowhere else to park. So the whole proposal of this is going to upset the harmony of our neighborhood in such a way that is detrimental. The people on the greenway, people pass behind my home and they stop and they gaze and they look out at the view. They don't want to look at a condo full of balconies, full of stuff. There are 150-foot trees across the street that are beautiful. I am speaking to you, looking out my window, all I see is green. This stretch of our city is so special and unique, and you will be ruining that in such a way by putting up high-rises that are not necessary. We have 33rd to 16th, which is flat and ideal for in-density increase. There's already apartments there. This is a neighborhood of homes. And like my neighbor Michael spoke about, older homes that have been well cared for, that are perfectly acceptable for families to rent or for the people that have lived here for decades. So I can't oppose this I'm so opposed to this in so many ways. I just don't find any positive outcome to what could potentially happen here. I really see that there's just no benefit to the residents of our city, and I thank you for listening, and I hope that you deeply consider all of the concerns of the neighbors and what this could potentially do to a very unique neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. That was perfectly timed. You do have questions, Councillor Kirby-Young.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for speaking to council tonight. I know that you had mentioned, and you're the, I think the second speaker that mentioned accidents in the area. Have you reported those or had any engagement with respect to city staff with concerns, around accidents around this curve?
Yes, I do. I have a neighbor who unfortunately was not able to join this conversation, but he has got photo documentation of accidents over the past 9 years, one of which actually almost impaled him in his bedroom on this particular corner. And he does have years of documentation of this. And yes, there are police reports that also should be considered because, like we brought up, it's a very dangerous area of traffic. And it's a high-speed corner, and it's also not very visible.
Okay, have you had any response with respect to traffic mitigation and calming measures from the city on that?
No, we have not heard anything. And like I said, I park on the street, and when I come out in the morning to drive my daughter to school, I am very mindful and conscious of buses and the numerous dump trucks that are now up and down this corner. It's terrifying at times, to be honest.
Okay. And you were mentioned parking. I don't know if you're aware that there will be a requirement to provide parking according to the parking bylaw. And also you do have the ability to request resident parking if it becomes scarce in your neighborhood. Are you aware of that?
No, I had questioned that during the first online possible acquisition, and I understand that, but I don't know that that will take care of the visitor and the numerous like Evo and car shares. It's just at this point in our neighborhood, like I said, nobody has designated parking. Very few residents actually have a garage or any space that they can park off street.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Those are your questions. So thank you very much for calling in tonight.
Thank you for your consideration.
So we will now do, well, actually, I'll check first. Are there any callers on the line, clerks?
None.
Thank you. So we'll do our third and final call. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be tweeted out and made available on the live stream. Any speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium. Seeing none, we'll take a 5-minute recess. We'll come back at 7:18. And clerks, I'll check to see, do we have any speakers on the line?
None.
Okay, that's great. So I'm now closing the receipt of public comments. Does the applicant have any closing comments? Thank you. Does staff have any closing comments? I see staff are coming to the mic, so thank you very much.
Sorry, no closing comments, but just a reminder that council is requested to move the recommendation in the memo as part of the decision this evening.
Thank you very much. That's great. Do the council, any questions of staff from council? Councilor Kirby-Young?
Yeah, thanks. I just have one, and that is just to do due diligence, because we've heard a couple of the speakers tonight reference concerns with respect to traffic accidents in the area, and I wonder if staff have any commentary or background you can provide on that.
Yeah, thanks for the question. When engineering staff was reviewing this site and this application, there were a number of conditions put in place to improve traffic safety. As it was noted that there are some difficult corners on the site. And that includes, as I mentioned in the presentation, a 17-foot dedication that would run the entire frontage of the site along Arbutus Street, which is intended to improve sight lines on the site. The conditions also include intersection improvements at 33rd Avenue and Arbutus, as well as 34th and 35th, with the most significant being at 34th Avenue, which is the first corner of the site as you're going up the hill. And that includes increased boulevard sizes, sidewalk sides, sort of a normalizing of the intersection is the language from engineering, which is all intended to improve sightlines and traffic and pedestrian safety as well.
Okay, thank you. That's good to know that those steps are being taken. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kirby-Young. Councillor Meisner.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I was just wondering if staff could elaborate on some of the measures being taken to mitigate the environmental impact on the ravine. I did hear a couple speakers tonight mention their concerns around that ravine park. So just wondering what steps will be taken in the construction phase if this is approved.
Yeah, thanks for the question. And I will note again that Parks Board staff and landscaping have reviewed the application at this stage and have not seen any major concerns with respect to Ravine Park. They would be reviewing again as part of a development permit process if this should be approved. Much of the environmental mitigation impacts are in the SRP design guidelines, which have a number of measures to primarily support rainfall infiltration, again, keeping the parkade under the building footprint, requiring the rear yard setbacks, all features meant to retain trees and promote infiltration. Again, the bioswale along Arbutus Street with a significantly sloped site is also intended to support environmental impacts on the Ravine Park. I will also note that as part of the SRP design guidelines, the parkades are meant to be limited to just one level as well, which also will minimize the digging around that area.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Meisner. I just wanted to get further clarification around questions to staff around the traffic planning in the traffic safety plan, just given the way that this corner sort of is an S-curve and 34th is a dead-end street. So if people are coming out of the parkade, and I know this may be coming between now and DP, but if we could just get some sense of, or even information back, or no, I have to have it now, I guess, for the decision because it's public hearing. I'm really curious, will traffic be guided to take a right hand, imagining a left-hand turn out of that street wouldn't actually be very safe at all? And noting that there was a pretty significant crash on this corner in 2018, and just hearing the concerns of our speakers relating to safety on this particular S-curve.
Yeah, absolutely. A number of those measures would be looked at the development permit phase when we would have applicant drawings. I don't have information yet on, right-hand turn limitations. That isn't specified in the conditions at this stage. I do note that 34th Avenue has been conditioned for a bump out, which would minimize, control the traffic somewhat there, I believe, at least in terms of interaction with parking.
Okay. Maybe there's another comment.
I could
Thanks.
just add to that, there will be a traffic demand management report required at the development permit stage, and all of those questions around right in, left out, all of that will be worked out at the DP process in order to, with engineering.
Okay. Okay. Just recognizing it's so close to 33rd that another street light probably would not be feasible. So just keep an eye. I'll be keeping an eye out for that piece of it as well. But yeah, that's good. Good for now because this is what we've got in front of us. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So that brings us to the end of questions of staff. And I'm looking for a mover.
Move the recommendations of the yellow memo.
I heard Councillor Kirby-Young move and Councillor Boyle second. Is there any discussion? Councillor Boyle.
Thanks. I'll be really brief again, but just wanted to say I was interesting to hear from neighbors about that ravine, and also really appreciate hearing from both staff and the applicant about the work being done to create a bioswale and extra space. And I think those pieces balance out really nicely with my own experience of the need for more rental housing in the neighborhood. I went to high school just up the road. I have spent quite a bit of time around that stretch, and appreciate seeing more mid-rise rental housing coming into the neighborhood. I know there's a model where we only build towers right in Kerrisdale, and I am glad to see a mix of housing stretching out through the neighborhood, and know these will be good and appreciated homes in what I know to be a really great neighborhood. So happy to support it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Boyle. Before we go further, I just want to confirm to the mover of the recommendations that your intention is to move them with the yellow memo.
Yes, Chair, I did say with the yellow memo.
Perfect. Okay, great. I must have
Thanks for
heard that.
confirming.
Thank you very much. Yes, so, and I just want to make a very brief comment, and likewise, lived and worked in Kerrisdale for more than 20 years and know that rental housing is very much a missing housing option in this area. So great to see this project coming forward. Also recognizing there are safety concerns and very small sidewalks and the Ravine Park that have been considered in this application. And so looking forward to what that will look like as we move towards development permit stage. Also recognizing this is a fairly new process, and so it's quite helpful to see such a comprehensive list of conditions of approval that give us those guidelines as council without delaying these applications from getting to rezoning. So optimistic that we're moving in the right direction in terms of enabling more of this type of housing in an expedited way, particularly where it is much needed in the city. So I'm very happy to support. That is the end of the speakers list, so I will move us to a vote. And that motion passes with unanimous support of all those present. Thank you very much. Thanks to staff. Thank you to the applicant. And I'm looking for someone to move adjournment, please. Thank you, Councillor Dominato. Thank you, second, Councillor Carr. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, Chair. Well done, and thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Good night,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone. Thanks. Bye. Good night.
Good night, everyone.